Awesome, I hope you guys are ready for some accessibility talks today. I've got two presenters here with me today, two accessibility budding pros with me. We've got Kwan from the University of Waterloo. He is he is the Director of Web Development. 20 years experience in the industry, does all sorts of stuff, UX, you've done consulting, full stack, you're everything, awesome. And we also have Woolliscroft here. Luke is from the Empire Life Insurance Company. He is the digital asset manager for Empire Life and currently engaged with Evolving Web and a lot of accessibility updates to the Drupal stuff as well. So awesome. Round of applause for these two guys, please. And we'll get started.
Morning, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for the wonderful introduction and the promotion. I'll tell my boss that I'm now a director. It's fantastic. So Luke and I are going to try to run through our individual experiences onboarding accessibility tools within our respective contexts. I think working with Drupal and accessibility, you have a good starting point, but most organizations face certain challenges with implementing accessibility in general. So we'll just try to share our experiences, and I think both of us are also very welcome for questions afterwards, by all means. So I'll start with a little bit of a background for Waterloo. Luke will talk a little bit about Empire, go through a little compare and contrast of Siteimprove versus Level Access, which are our two respective products of choice, and then try to spend most of the time on common challenges and key takeaways, because I think that's what everybody's probably here for the most. So the uwaterloo.ca moved to Drupal in 2012, which was aligned with the first major milestone from an AODA compliance perspective for public sector institutions. Most organizations face similar challenges in terms of resourcing, which, so no surprise for us, a lot of the work to try and support accessibility was done very manually or with limited tooling available, like things like the Wave tool, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, or some amount of testing through things like Cypress or CodeCeption. And since then, since 2012, our site footprint has grown to somewhere between 1,000 and 1,100 sites, just to give you an idea of scope. So our journey to Siteimprove, and actually maybe I'll pause for a second. How many people are familiar with either Siteimprove or Level Access? Just to give an idea. Okay, fantastic. So our journey to Siteimprove really, it's been kind of on and off for a while, but it really kicked off in earnest as a result of our most recent MyApp report, so multi-year accessibility plan, which is a required deliverable when you work with the Ontario government, the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility, for AODA compliance. So the last report was, I believe, December of 2020 or 2021. I believe the cadence is every 4 or 5 years. We have a new reporting cycle coming up in 2025. Institutionally, through consultation with myself and a few other leaders, IT leaders, and communications leaders, we decided to report non-compliance for the first time. And as we learned, we weren't the only Ontario post-secondary to report non-compliance, but we reported non-compliance for the first time, which really kickstarted this process for us. And so a project team was struck and put together a multifaceted strategy and approach, which included the identification of a tool such as Siteimprove to help manage the scope of what we're trying to deal with. And then operationalizing that plan after we procured through RFP in September, we started operationalizing in full in November of last year. Just a quick lens into some of the reporting that Siteimprove can produce all kinds of reporting. So this is an example of a kind of a portfolio level report. As you can see, there's some, as you could expect to see, like how well are you scoring, how many pages has the thing crawled, how many issues you have. Don't look at the PDF number, please. And then this is an example of a site level report. So we have the portfolio level and we have the individual site level reports. This one is doing very well, but this is just a bit of an example.
Thank you. So from Empire's perspective, I think we have a lot of common challenges here, which we'll get to, but there's a lot of overlap really. Empire Life is a mid-sized Canadian insurance company, life insurance, investments, and benefits. We moved to Drupal 2017, and at that time we migrated from an old legacy system. We were all set up, ready to go, but then the site kind of sat for a while and got stagnant because of other priorities. We were building sales apps and Django and React, and not really focusing on Empire.ca. So that kind of we kind of accrued all this tech debt and legacy stuff that we had to deal with, even though we were relatively new to moving to Drupal. You know, it sat there for a few years, and we didn't really have much of a strategy at that time because everything was focused elsewhere. We did upgrade to Drupal 10 in 2014, but similar to your attestation to the Ontario government, we had to do a similar thing. I'm not 100% sure on all the details of that because that was handled by the compliance team, but really our accessibility journey was, you know, in 2020, I think it was, when we first had to report. We went through the site, you know, after several years of it having kind of sat there and stagnated, and did what we could through just manual remediation, manual testing, again using Wave tool. You know, we didn't have any other tools besides that. We did what we could, and you know, to the best of our abilities at that time. And then we had to attest again, I think, this time last year, and we also reported non-compliance, and that kind of lit a fire under various parts of the organisation to fix that, which was great because you know, from my perspective, managing the site, it was really good to kind of force the hand, as it were, to say, look, we need more than just the manual checking that we currently have. We need some processes and some ability to manage this properly. So that's when we got, again, similar to Joe, a project team together, and we ended up with Level Access instead of Siteimprove. They're both quite similar in what they do for accessibility. So a year ago, when we made that attestation, we were kind of on the plus side of average in terms of accessibility health. This is just the automated scan of Empire.ca. We had a lot of critical and high findings, as you can see. A lot of those are duplicates across the site. You know, one thing in one area in the header will reflect across all the pages, obviously. So you know, it's not quite as bad as it looks. But after a year of implementing this, as of this week, we are now down to zero on the automated scanning side. You know, looking good. That's not to say that we are complete in this journey by any means. There's a lot more to it than this, as we'll delve into. But that's kind of just a little background of Empire.ca. So we'll talk a little bit now about Siteimprove, Level Access before the challenges and the takeaways.
So again, Siteimprove and Level Access are very similar in the kind of fuller suite of what they do, but we'll try to give a little bit of insight into each of them individually. So Siteimprove is a SaaS platform that provides a tremendous amount of functionality. It tends to be focused around accessibility in terms of audit and reporting and remediation assistance. It's a tool that, as we've learned, it can be it's super useful for both a content editing perspective, so a content author, content creator, as well as a developer. There is a lot of tooling with it for both sides. There are also other tools, including things like QA, so spell check, broken link checkers. There's SEO tooling, SEO optimization tooling, and there's also content policy tooling, which is extremely useful. There is, as you might expect, there's a Siteimprove Academy, which provides a lot of self-service training for the product and platform. And then from an assessment perspective, as you might expect, you can choose whatever flavor, whatever combination of compliance criteria you are looking to conform to. And Siteimprove's been really good about once new conformance standards are officially approved, then they will put them in. Like 2.2 was added relatively short order once it was fully officially made official. And I expect, like, when 3.0 comes out, I expect that to be available in fairly short order. And there's also the ability to integrate Siteimprove reporting into Jira workflow. That's something that you are interested in.
Yeah, pretty similar on the level access side, slash platform as well. It's more focused just on accessibility, remediation testing and whatnot, rather than the SEO elements and the extra stuff that Siteimprove has. Siteimprove is a much bigger suite. But really for us, we started off using it really just on the manual testing, as I showed that screenshot from this time last year. But they also offer a lot of manual testing. So obviously, when you're testing your site for compliance, automated testing only goes so far. You really need somebody to go through it with a screen reader or whatever tool that they're using to see how it works for people. So level access has given us a lot of manual testing and a lot of additional findings that we're still working on as a result of that. What I really like about it is the way that they detail basically all the errors, how to reproduce them, and how to fix them. So, they'll especially on the manual testing, they'll give you screenshots of here's the code, here's why this is wrong, here's an option of a way to fix it. It's not necessarily the only way to fix it, but it really gives you step-by-step details of how to reproduce and fix that. And then again, same kind of stuff with Jira integration and workflow management.
So as Luke and I have started meeting and figuring out kind of the details of both of our sites and our experiences, I think we landed certainly on a set of common challenges, both I think related to the specific products we component, but maybe even broader. So the one I'll start with is always the big, it's like a $64 million question, is how do you build or how do you create the culture of accessibility within your organization? Because it is hard, typically, and we want to do so in as sustainable a manner as possible. I think I was just at an internal conference at the university on Wednesday, and there was an accessibility presentation given, and the presenter made a really insightful. There's a difference between like checking the box off and actually genuinely trying to move accessibility and inclusivity forward. So related to that, how do you rally support? As I said, our Siteimprove journey was kind of in fits and starts for the past 5 or 6 years, and it really only got kicked off because we got a note from the government that said, hey, you filed non-compliance, so what are you going to do about it? Hopefully not everybody has to get to that level to kick off these efforts in earnest, but what are the strategies and techniques that you could use to rally that support, whether it's both culturally or financially or otherwise? From a more operational perspective, can the tool help you assess the accessibility of the CMS, so Drupal or WordPress or whatever the CMS product of choice is, versus the accessibility of the content that the product is being used for? So in Siteimprove's case, it does its best to try and differentiate the difference between what it calls a technical issue, or something that's coming from Drupal in our case, that my team is accountable for, versus content or media, which is all of the kind of user-generated material that users are logging into Drupal to build. Also, can your tool help you in both pre-flight phases of a site launch as well as post-launch? So with our case, the vast majority of our sites were already existed, so Siteimprove was going to be very useful to assess the content and the CMS at that particular moment in time, but we also recognize that people are going to continue to request these sites on an ongoing basis for the rest of the time. So can the tool that you select help in a pre-flight or pre-production or staging case where you have a site builder that wants to build the entire site in your staging or pilot environment, run the tool to make sure that when you launch it, everything is accessible, and then have that continuity once it's launched. And then it took a fair amount, as you might expect, it took a fair amount of time and investment for us to even just build the processes, the business processes and the workflows that were needed to support this as a new service offering internally on my team. So can you make sure that you have that commitment from leadership so that you can invest all of the time necessary to build those up? Because that will be important to your success for sure. And included in that is all the necessary training. So training of the people that are going to administer the tool. So in my case, I was lucky enough to create for the first time at the University of Waterloo, a full-time role solely dedicated to digital accessibility. So that role is what is our Siteimprove product owner. And so she owns the product from a management and administration perspective. So that's a bunch of training on her end to learn the product and how to use it, and it's still going on. And then all the user and developer training and all the training down the line that's also necessary for this to be successful.
Yeah, that's one area where we might differ a little bit is we kind of talked about should there be one person who owns accessibility, and we kind of decided against that because it touches so many areas that it's really just for us it wouldn't really be feasible to do that. But our model is quite different from you've got however many, 1,100 sites?
Approaching 1,100 sites.
Yeah, whereas we're just looking at one main corporate site. But anyway, the key takeaways from this journey that we've been on for the past 4 years, but especially the last year, I think this, I was amazed when we were chatting beforehand how much overlap there is. So first and foremost, there's no silver bullet. There's no one way to fix this. This has to be baked into everything, and that requires kind of a cultural change. So there's nothing you can do. When we filed our notice of non-compliance last year, there was kind of just requests from various executives just to, let's fix it, just fix it. But it's not quite as easy as that. So we went on this journey and we started using level access, and we didn't really think about the manual testing element to begin with. We just started with the automated testing. We had the screenshot that I showed you there earlier of our score at the time, and we thought, we'll just try and get this up to 100 or as close as we can. But automated testing is only one piece of the puzzle, and once you delve into the manual testing, that's when you can discover a lot more that needs to be done. So, once you got to that point, you're saying to your stakeholders, we've got these things to do, we've got these things to fix. It's important to invest time to manage their expectations. We, again, working in IT at Empire Life, it was kind of like everyone was looking to us to fix it. But I kind of went back to the marketing teams, the communication teams, the design teams, and tried to get their buy-in from everyone, because it's not something that we could just do on our own. The design team, to their credit, they're probably the leaders in accessibility in terms of being at Empire Life. They get it. Other areas require a little more kind of education, training, and just getting them to understand what this actually involves. So I would recommend try to be a leader in preparing the stakeholders for that ongoing effort. Not just showing them what they need to do or what their part in it is, but also showing them the progress that you're making, sourcing the training and the resources to help them, and also managing expectations. I'll talk about that in a second. Just in terms of that, some things will take longer. There are we move pretty fast in our organisation for the size that we are, but there's only so much you can do at once. So some things will take a little bit longer. In terms of Drupal, so for Empire.ca, we moved into Drupal 10 this year. Like I said, it accrued a bit of legacy tech debt over the last, 7 years or so. Part of that was because we just allowed a bunch of content types to be created. We've got about 25 to 30 content types. In reality, we probably only need maybe 5 to 10. So we've got a lot of different, and this is really because we've allowed piecemeal bits and bits of development over time when needed, without having a kind of a comprehensive strategy for the last 4 or 5 years before we kind of started reinvesting in the site. So because we had that proliferation of content types, when it came to applying accessibility fixes, that really complicated things. So we're trying to look at how can we, obviously we want to consolidate and scale down that stuff, but at the same time we need to make these fixes now. So how can we retrofit some of those content types to accommodate the goals that we were trying to achieve? And then obviously, moving forward, how can we build that content strategy out a little smarter? That obviously required a little bit of refinement to workflow to accommodate new processes. So again, getting the buy-in from the design, the compliance, the translation teams, my team, and obviously QA as well, to make this a forethought rather than afterthought. We don't want people coming to us with requests and saying, let's get this done, but then they haven't thought through the accessibility requirements up front. So refining that workflow and getting people to think about that up front has been really beneficial to making this a success. And then that kind of snowballs, because if you can showcase the extra benefits that come from being compliant as you go, I found that it helps people think about it up front. So it's not just about the score or the passing the test or the manual testing, the automated testing, that kind of stuff. It's more about showcasing how your site is actually built better, whether it's for people who have disabilities or not. If you're building this in from the beginning, you'll find that really everything that you're doing, everything that you're building is just built better. It's built more logically. It's built for everybody, regardless of whether they have disability needs or not. And then finally, that there is no kind of done. We got to that 100 score this week. We're still working on the fixes to the manual testing that we've done, but we know that this is kind of an ongoing journey, and that's a little bit of a difficult one for maybe our compliance team to stomach, because they are the ones that have to attest to the government again and say, and to them it's binary, right? It's black and white. It's either you're compliant or you're not. But I don't think anybody anywhere is 100% fully compliant. I've looked at various government websites, Ontario.ca and Canada.ca, and there's errors everywhere, right? Like everybody's got little things that they need to do. So we kind of had to manage those expectations with our compliance team, saying, what is the definition of done here? There isn't really a done. We're on this journey, and there's always going to be things that crop up. But we have obviously come a long way. It's just building that into your processes going forward. Any other takeaways?
No, I echo a lot of what you said, especially that definition of done. That's one of the parts of the process when I talk to senior leadership, especially that I need to focus on. So that earlier slide that had depicted a screenshot of the portfolio view, and it had a green score of 84.6 or whatever it was. There's sometimes you have to battle a bit of hyper-focus on the score versus, this is Siteimprove level, whatever tool or whatever efforts you have are incrementally there to build up that continual culture of accessibility and inclusivity at your organization. So don't focus, because sometimes those leaders don't realize that it says 100% today, and someone could upload something, an image with some text and all flatten on top of it, and then all of a sudden your score is not 100%. So
yeah, it's just building that understanding and education across the organization, whatever the organization is, I think is the biggest thing, so that people have that context. So thank you, appreciate your time. Happy to take any questions either here or afterwards.
No? Yeah, can you go back to your previous slide? Yeah, the third item showcased the extra benefits. Any good stories?
So, from Empire Life, I'm trying to think of a quick and concise example. So, we were really guilty of having thousands of PDF documents on the site from way back. And our business partners were very adamant that that's what we market to end customers, but also financial advisors. And they were very adamant that financial advisors, they want their news bulletins in PDF format, which were being created by all over the business. No consistency in those documents and applying any standards. So we kind of forced the hand there and said, look, we're gonna stop doing PDFs for this. We can have an archive of all the old PDFs, but we're gonna build news content articles for these. And they didn't like that initially because it's a change and it requires more time and sort of lead time when they come to us. Instead of just loading a PDF, we're building a page for them. So that was kind of the pain point, but as we built that out, as we showed the flexibility that we could offer them, not only for being compliant, but also for, hey, this is a better user experience. People can read this on their phones. They don't have to download a PDF. We can add all sorts of other stuff in here. Then they started to see the benefits that come from being compliant that aren't just about being compliant. It's about a better user experience overall. Did I answer your question?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, the introduction of phones as the most common device, I think, was a great kick in the pants for people who are really stuck on their own workflows and ideas of what a website should be. I like
So my question is, when you deal with someone like legal, who has typically this idea that I just need you to make it compliant. Compliant is binary, yes or no. Have you got any strategies for how you nuance that conversation with them?
Yeah, it's been many conversations. Let's put it that way. It's been a journey over the last year, especially of those conversations. So initially, there was a lot of they were kind of digging their heels in quite a lot on that, saying, "Yeah, we just need to compliant." Sorry, Joe. I'll let you answer this as well. But then, so one great way to help with that is actually level access really helped with that. That we brought some of their folks into some of our discussions with the legal and compliance team and got them to explain from their point of view what this journey is. So they weren't just taking our word for it. They were taking the accessibility experts' word for it. That you're on this journey, you're doing great. You've made great strides, and that it's not real. There's not really an end destination here. You're just going to have to keep going. So that was the biggest one. And again, just education. It takes time to have these conversations and show them why we can't just fix it. Why. So again, for example, some of our Drupal content types, we have, we built them in weird ways over the years where it requires certain headings or not here and there. And then when it comes to passing an accessibility test, it's like, well, why haven't you got your heading here? Or why is this heading? And just showing them that it isn't just something where you can click your fingers and make it happen. You've got to kind of redesign what you're doing. So I would say having those experts in from level access was great, and then just educating them and showing them why. Anything to add?
I'll just add super quickly. I've been fortunate. Our legal team has been fairly understanding about this process. We do have our own compliance officer as well that serves as the proxy between ourselves and legal and then ourselves and government. If I had to, I would try to humanize. So, to be perfectly honest, and this is not good or bad for our legal team, but they're not users of our CMS. They don't use the CMS. So I would try to humanize this experience for them by showing them a combination of what a person has to do to offer content on our web publishing product, and what a reporting dashboard looks like within Siteimprove, and show them, okay, it can be 100% this very second, but if I show you how it is, to be honest, very easy to publish inaccessible content, then that's where it gets immediately reflected as, oh, that's not 100% anymore. So and just try to humanize that experience for them as much as possible.
One really quick addition to that is also the type of error that you're getting. So, for example, you might have an image in your footer that is irrelevant to the user experience of the page, really, that maybe is missing an alt text or whatever, and that might come up as critical. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be fixing that, of course, but again, showing them kind of what is the actual impact here and how do we prioritize these errors, because they just see a quote-unquote critical error. They're thinking it's critical, whereas it's, we still want to fix it, but it's not going to directly impact 99% of the people who are using that page. So prioritizing things accordingly.
Thank you, guys.